just have to say the anticipation's killing me right now.
I'm just waiting to see all your beautiful faces. I have the small version. Good afternoon and welcome everyone to the 5th Dance Speaker Series presented by Point Park University from the Conservatory of Performing Arts. And we have 4 wonderful, successful dancers with us today who I would like to present to you. Franco Nieto, Colleen Liberty, Jacob Frazier, and Risa D'Souza. They will gladly speak to you about themselves and introduce themselves to you more fully, what they're doing right now, how they got there, etc., etc. So let's start with Franco, and then we can move along to each of you, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So my name is Franco Nieto. I graduated from Point Park University in 2009. I probably had a little bit different background than everyone. I didn't start dancing until I was about 16 years old. I played sports until then, until I started getting to dance classes, and then I really pushed forward and really was super excited to get to Point Park because I feel like it was one of those places that I got the most versatility in what I wanted. I got all the modern jazz and ballet. I think it pushed me in a way that was really pivotal for starting late in my career. After graduating from Point Park, I had done a project in Montreal with a choreographer named Edgar Zandejas, who I had met through Point Park, and then I danced with a company called Bad Boys of Dance, Rasta Thomas, for a year and a half. And after I did a full year and a half, I ended up going back to Northwest Dance Project in Portland, Oregon, where I've been there for almost 10 years now. That's the quick and dirty.
All right, thank you. We'll elaborate later. Colleen, let's work with you because you have another interesting story since you both work at the same place now.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. Hi, everyone. My name's Colleen Liberty. I graduated from Point Park in 2013. And I'm just going to come out the gate and say I'm a little nervous because my path has kind of lately taken a little bit of a shift, an unexpected shift. And I want to go into that as quickly as possible, but being very honest with where I am right now. So I graduated and moved to New York and did freelance work there. Also had to do the side jobs, worked as a personal trainer, worked at a coffee shop, did serving. And in the midst of that, I had been pursuing auditioning for Northwest Dance Project through their launch program. I had been the summer before, and my intention was to go back the next summer and get the job. Luckily, it ended up working out. It was a really good fit. I moved to Portland, Oregon a couple of years ago, and I've really enjoyed my time with the company. The dancers drew me in, and the work drew me in. As of late, during the pandemic, there have been, as the dancers have addressed some ongoing issues, and in trying to do so in relation to things that were happening in that moment, we wanted to establish better communication. And unfortunately, our inquiries to meet as a collective with our employers were not even refused, but they were ignored. And a colleague of mine took the lead on behalf of the group to propose this collective conversation. There was no refusal, just no answer at all. Another colleague tried to come forward again for a conversation regarding these concerns, and still no answer. And I approached individually, addressing my concerns and my values and the desire to have a balanced collective dialogue. And unfortunately, it was met with some resistance and avoidance, and my intention to address a collective conversation was again ignored. So from there, I decided not to continue with the company. I am currently freelancing, working on a few projects right now with Post Ballet, with the local Sean Keelock company in Portland, Oregon. I am starting work on my own dance film project, doing yoga teacher training and working with this dancers advocacy organization called Dance Artists National Collective, which works on behalf of dancers' labor rights. So I will
Is
pass
this
it off
still
there.
in Portland?
Yes, this is still in Portland. Mhm.
Wow. All right. Risa.
Hi, I'm Risa D'Souza, and I'm from Houston, Texas. I graduated early in 2013 in December from Point Park. So I had a semester left, and I did dance project for just a show and a tour. Then I moved back home, and I joined Met Dance as an apprentice for my first year, and then a company member for 4 more years. And when they folded, Marlena Doyle, the artistic director, opened up her own dance company called Houston Contemporary Dance Company. And so now I am dancing with them, and this is my 2nd season currently. And that's all.
Excellent. All right, last but definitely not least, Jacob.
Hi, my name is Jacob Frazier. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I graduated from Point Park in 2016. My senior year, I auditioned for Giordano Dance Chicago, and I was hired into their 2nd company. I did 1 year as a G2, and I've done 3 years as a full company member. Since then, I've just been teaching full-time and pursuing training in a fitness resistance functional-based method called PVOLVE. I'm actually doing that with a colleague from Point Park named Kimmy Procurit. She's absolutely exquisite. So she's my trainer right now. And I'm also pursuing my Master of Social Work so I can implement social policy and into nonprofits and 501c3 organizations. And as you heard Colleen, that's very common in these nonprofit organizations. So part of what I'm doing is taking that almost lack of leadership and implementing systemic values within these companies so that we're not running into this disconnect between the board and the leaders. So it's a 3-year program, and I'm super empowered to tackle that because it is very necessary in our world.
All right. Well, firstly, I'd like to thank Colleen for being so honest. I think this is a very, very brave thing to do, but there are realities in this world that there are realities and no sense in hiding them, and it's not the end of the world. Back to a more bubblegum topic. Okay, let me read this. Looking back at your education at the university here at Point Park, what can you say best prepared you to meet the challenge of entering the professional dance world? Now, to each of you, this is going to probably be very specific. And you've all taken different paths. And even if you face some adversity, think about how your education may have prepared you for that as well. Okay? Anyone who wants to start off? Or I'll pick you.
I can go first. I think the biggest thing, I have a very specific experience. I was in David Parsons' Wolfgang, and I was not casted in the main cast. I was just an understudy, but like being an understudy and having to learn other people's parts and just like being pushed to pick up fast, like that process was so valuable to me. And I think just overall, just because it's a bigger program, I had to be very self-accountable. Like no one was there holding my hand. I had to, use my resources. And that's very, I think, full circle to after is, being self-accountable and just going for it. I don't know.
Mm. All right. Yes. It's frustrating when you're not being seen in that way. that you want to be seen. Yeah. Who else would like to respond to that? You're going to all respond. It's a matter of who's next. Come on, Colleen, you're itching.
Yeah, I'll do it. Here we go. So, okay, my path at Point Park prepared me pretty well. I'd say I had a very up and down, in a very beneficial way, kind of experience. Both my after my freshman and my junior year, I had pretty intense injuries by the end of the year. I had a stress fracture in my shin after the final biome show, and I had a herniated disc at the end of my junior year. And my intentions for those summers originally had been to like go and do all the dancing. And to be honest, I feel like I learned more about my body and myself in those moments where I kind of had to step out and like reassess why and how I was doing things for my body. In addition to that, I think all of my professors that I had really encouraged the need to question things further, both like within ourselves and within society, self-assessment, to work with integrity, and that there's always room for growth without being like detrimental to yourself. So it's not about being like, that was so bad, you're poop, but it's about like being a little bit more neutral, or just taking the information that you learn along the way and not holding on to things that are unpleasant, but rather recognizing that those really hard moments, these moments where it's like, I didn't plan this, I didn't want this to happen, I wanted to do all these things, but those are ultimately the moments, both for me within the organization of Point Park and from my teachers and their paths and their values, that has really brought me to where I am today.
Okay. Wow. Risa.
The teachers and the faculty really prepared all of us, the versatility that we had. If you wanted to take the commercial route, you could do that. If you wanted to take concert dance, that was also available. Definitely the structure as well. As many dance classes that we had, and then rehearsals at night. So here in Houston, we rehearse during the day, but then we also teach at night. So being on our feet all of the time and the amount of work that we have to put into it, Point Park has trained my body for that and made me able to sustain that and be good with that. But and then also just never giving up, because yes, there are a lot of auditions, then you don't get cast, and sometimes you do, and just being able to keep pushing and keep going through all of that. But yeah.
Yeah. All right, Franco.
Yeah, I would say, I think the biggest one was like the community that was built at Point Park that really helped me foresee how you can continue building communities through dance versus feeling like there's always a competition between each person. And maybe it's different from the year that I had, but the amount of friends and again, the faculty, there was a lot of encouragement, which I think you are hearing from a lot of these artists, that I felt very encouraged from all the faculty in every field of dance, where ballet, jazz, modern, tap, folk dance, any of those things. It was just like, I felt very encouraged by all the faculty, and again, with having that versatility and having being able to put my toes in all the different programs throughout the entire thing, I think really helped me later get to where I am. I also think a lot of the connections that I made at Point Park were the reasons why I am here currently. Like a lot of the connections, either with meeting Edgar through the biome, or a student who introduced me to Robbie Nicholson, is how I got the Bad Boys job. It was just like constantly making all these connections through Point Park was what helped me get to my career, where I was fortunate that I didn't have to do a lot of the cattle call auditions. It was making connections with all the people that started in Pittsburgh, which was really nice.
Yeah. So let me see if I can pull this question out in the right way. When you hit your senior year, remember that moment when it hit you? You started making a plan, right? How did you, once you graduated, how did you negotiate that plan? How did you get it started? And what did you do when you hit a brick wall?
I mean, I think one thing to remind everyone, I don't know, it's not, it was not talked about enough at school that senior year after you're done, the next year, there's so much feelings of being lost and completely misled and completely just like, where am I supposed to go right now, or this or that? And even when you have a job, you still feel like, is there another thing, or is this another thing? And you just feel lost. And I think letting the other students understand that is normal, and that is going to be part of your next career after school.
Yeah.
Just start with that.
Yeah. Is it kind of similar to going from high school to Point Park?
Yeah.
That bridge, each bridge kind of gets a little more treacherous.
Yes.
Not treacherous in a bad way, just you have to use your wiliness to get through it. Yeah. Jacob.
Yeah, I can attest to that same exact feeling. And I knew I had a job. I was like, I booked the job. I was going to move to Chicago. But that bridge time between graduating in April, like doing schoolwork all the time and just like working on your craft constantly to just like, whoa, stillness.
Yeah.
That was very hard. I mean, I will not lie. I mean, it was maybe the hardest months of my life, because you were just stripped away from everything you knew for 4 years. And we all know Point Park is a rigorous program.
Right.
I think in those moments, it's sitting with it, but also knowing like, what fuels your happiness. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's reading, maybe it's, going outside, like knowing that those simple like things that bring you like beauty, like those will always exist no matter, what bridge you're crossing. So I think it's kind of utilizing those resources and also reaching out to your friends who you graduated with. Yeah. Like, hey, how are you feeling? Because I'm not doing so well. So still utilizing the community. And as we all know, COVID-19 has taught us, we have such a rich community. We can talk to each other now from across the country. There's not this barrier that maybe once existed. So I think this kind of screen-to-screen contact, which can be very positive, is now more accessible. So utilizing that.
Would you say that, before we get to the ladies, and this, you may incorporate this, Colleen and Risa, would you say that the limitation of the screen has actually given you a little more time for community? Your extended community, your extended community.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Colleen. Thank you.
Yeah, let's do it. No, perfect. Because I'd love to like respond and add on what Jacob said, because I feel very similarly. When I graduated, I was like, where am I going? It was very much, I had no set plans with regards to where I would move. I would have liked to have joined Northwest Dance Project, and that at that moment I didn't get the job, which was fine. And I was completely in between going to LA and New York, two very separate different places, and had absolutely no indication of like, which one's right? I don't know. I went with New York, which ultimately was a good choice. It was very, very, very challenging. I found myself incredibly anxious in relation to feeling like, you're falling behind, or you're not where you're supposed to be. And then these questions of like, am I good enough to do what I think, what I would like to do? Am I not assessing my value correctly? There's this like self-consciousness, this insecurity. And then I personally was very much running myself dry, just trying to make a living to pay my rent. And ultimately, it's come down to right now, something I'm still working on, always working on, is taking care of your emotional and mental state is absolutely like the most important thing. I have gotten into dance in the first place because it is so much more than a physical practice. You are honing in to yourself and who you are. And when we cannot do that and take time for ourselves and like recognize our emotions, then it's not going to be sustainable. Like if we're just pushing and pushing and trying to, you know, be the best without being like, hey, I need to chill for a second, take a bath or do some yoga, you know, have that self-care ritual, then you're going to burn yourself out. I know that's my tendency, and that's something, those are the walls I usually hit, is like, I want to take on everything and do everything, and I want to do it all right now. And it's just knowing you can't do that. You just can't. You can do all the things you want, just not all at once. And at the end of the day, it's less about the particular, like this specific company that you're at, but how does what I'm doing match the values that I want to instill within myself, in my interactions, in the connections that I make? What do you care about? Do you care about how, you know, these connections, or the status of it? And that's very much a struggle for us sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that it's a matter of real time as opposed to pushing time and thinking of the future always?
Yes, very much so. I think right now we have this strangely golden opportunity to be like, you have to be in the present. You just, I mean, we've always had to, you know, and we're like, sit with yourself. And yeah, sometimes I know I've been like thinking ahead. And at the end of the day, then you're not going to be here and now.
Right. And you don't feel you're dancing.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating.
Yes.
Risa, thank you.
I never really had a set plan. Once I graduated, since I was there, Redance became an opportunity, and I really liked the work that they did. So I was into that. And then I moved back home, and I auditioned for other companies, but I was never that type of dancer that I'm going to move to New York or Chicago or LA for that matter. And then I stayed home and wanted to dance for Met Dance. And after doing all the work that they do and the variety we get to do, so it is concert dance, but then we also get that aspect of doing educationals, which is kind of more commercial work, and I like doing that as well. So just knowing what you like for yourself, and that was important to me, not just doing the same type of rep or the same choreographer style of choreography throughout the years was important to me. Plus balance is important to me. My career is not everything, but it is important. But I also love teaching as well. And teaching here is really great. And the students are amazing. And I love teaching here, as well as my family's here. And just having the well-rounded balance of life is more important to me than just, I want to move here because I want to dance and that's all I want to do. So that's my path and what makes me happy. So then I just stuck with Met Dance, and now with Marlena at Houston Contemporary, and I'm still very happy.
Please say hello.
I will.
So, were you, going back to your times here at Point Park, were you ever faced with a class or a style of dance that you felt didn't sit well with you, and you kind of like didn't know how to approach it or kind of pushed it away a little bit? And did you find yourself in a situation with choreographers that you wish you had paid more attention to the things that were a little more uncomfortable or that you didn't care for that much? We have a vast repertoire of teaching styles here, and it doesn't suit everybody. Everything doesn't suit everybody. And there are things that you really take to, and then there are things that you like, what is this? Why do I have to do this? We've all been there. So I guess it's an aha moment. Have you ever had something like that? You know, where, well, okay, you don't take the opportunity to learn French, and yet your job takes you to France, and it's like, oh darn, I should have taken that French class. Anything like that, you know, you can draw from of your studies here at Point Park, or where I am at Point Park, that you can recall that you faced in your professional journey.
I can start.
Sure.
Ballet is not my forte, and it has never been, and everyone who knows me knows this about me. And I wish not that I didn't pay attention or worked hard in class, it's just something like my body is not meant for. Like Horton, I can be there all day, every day, and it just works for me. Ballet, though, has not, although now I'm finding that I love ballet bar before warm-up, before a show, and it's really something that has sit with me, and I wish I had found that early in my college career and pushed myself more and tried harder, or just, I don't know, try to find that then than finding that now. But as dancers, you're always growing, you're always going to find new stuff, and whether you didn't find it then, you find it now, that's still okay, and just keep pushing further and further on in your career. But yes, ballet was definitely not my strongest thing. And my struggles.
Yes, but you realize the importance of it.
Yes, definitely importance. I mean, well, it's something that's been hard for me is, I guess, a lot of companies, because you audition in ballet and you always get cut, and I just wish that they could see me dance or see anyone dance, really. But so yes, paying attention more for that and focusing on that so that you don't get cut, so you do get to that point to show them who you truly are and how you really dance. I do agree.
But they have to have a vetting process.
Yes, this is true.
And it's pretty much Western dance. It's all Western dance, even though there's a lot of influences in contemporary style.
Yeah.
That's the default, pretty much.
Yes.
Well, who else?
To talk a little bit what Risa was even saying, I had a hard time, obviously, with ballet too for a while I was there. And I know that my senior year, I was like, no more ballet. I'm never going to do it again. And then I realized most of my entire career, I've been in taking ballet almost every single day. But that mindset changed for me of what ballet was when I finally got control of what ballet meant to me, and it became more of like a movement practice than a rigid technical thing that everyone has this idea of. I mean, and again, how you teach it, there's different thoughts about it. And this has just worked out for me is finally, once I let go of a little bit of those strict guidelines, it made ballet for me a little bit more fun and a little bit more fluid. And I wish that, I know even at Point Park, I was told that I was a little much a lot of the times in ballet, that was a little too dramatic or a little too extra with my porter bras. But it was something that I think helped me get to where I am now. And it's something that I try to encourage younger students to be okay with feeling uncomfortable, and then also be, like knowing your teacher, knowing what they want, but also knowing that there's other possibilities later too, and playing with that, like who's in front of the room and what risks do you get to take with that person in front of the room. That's just what I just never thought I'd be doing ballet as much as I am, and to be able to do it in a much more contemporary movement base has been very helpful for me to let myself be okay with it. And with that second thought, I wish that I was way better at tap dance. Terrible at tap. Most of the people, faculty knew that I did not have much rhythm while I was there. Counting was not my forte. And for whatever reason, I had like no coordination. And I remember being literally in tears in studios while being in tap class because I couldn't let my uncomfortability of not being good at something get in the way. And I just remember, and one of my favorite, not favorite, but one of my fond memories is literally just we did Rodeo, and there was a tap at the audition, and I was like, well, I don't tap. So I walked out, and then later got into the piece, and I just remember Jody trying to teach me how to do a time step in what was 204 back then in a hallway. After I already made it into the piece, and she was just like, okay, here's your time step. And she just taught me for literally 30 minutes, and it was just not registering. And she was like, okay, this is how you're gonna have to fake it, because you're gonna and you're gonna have to look like you're doing it. So she taught me how to do like basically a time step with a ball change, and like, I like cake and ice cream. I like cake and ice cream. Just remembering that coordination and that rhythm helped me get through that piece. So thank you, Jody, for pushing me through tap. She couldn't even get, she was just like, he's lost. Or you're just gonna have to teach him how to fake it right now. So
this is like a reality show now.
exactly.
You're up, Jacob.
No, I love that story, because the first thing that came to my mind is at Giordano's, they do a lot of ballroom. And we do a whole ballroom competition. We do a ballroom outreach. We do ballroom repertoire. And that was, I mean, not something that I had in the back of my pocket. I don't know if that's something that's offered at Point Park now. I hope so, because I would just be in there grabbing all the tools I could, the wealth of information that is ballroom dance. And so, yeah, I mean, mine's pretty specific, but that would be a very fun and I think different thing to utilize during your university experience.
Yeah. And lastly,
All right, this is going to be no surprise, not anything too much different, but I'm going to throw ballet into the ring again for me as as my style that I have been consistently. I think Point Park and prior has been my source of insecurity for me. I never, like Risa was saying, I never felt like I had the body for it. I was a lot more like critical of my shape of my body within a ballet class. I felt like restricted, but which was something that I brought upon myself, and there were some, you know, body self-images going on there with me. But something with that really clicked as I got really lucky to have such a variety of the amazing professors, and I graduated, I think I was the last one who had the double concentration with the modern and jazz, and I had like those classes each 5 days a week by my senior year, and that really elevated my ballet practice and each other. And I find I so strongly believe that a variety of styles and adaptability just makes for a better dancer on all counts. And everything I've done has influenced something else. There's always something to be taken and transposed on another technique. And then what I wish I would have done at Point Park too is I actually, before I came to school, I did a lot of hip hop. Like I did a lot of hip hop, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite styles in high school, and I found myself a little more insecure in my abilities with that as I was at Point Park, and my roommate was president of the hip hop club, and I don't know, I felt I was like, I wanna be really good at this, and so with that I kind of held back a little bit more instead of like going in there and being willing to look, you know, not perfect, not getting the step well, maybe missing a count. And I am trying to bring that back into my life. So yeah, still lots to learn. All of the styles, if I can get them all into my repertoire, I would.
Well, I'm sure you know by now that we do have hip hop.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
It's so exciting. Wish I was there for it.
So this has led me to another thought, and it has to do with the way you've expressed your thinking. Perception. The perception of yourself, the perception of the thing that you find difficult or not suited. And that perception has to some degree changed a little bit, hasn't it? There's a question in here somewhere. What would you tell students who are starting out in their freshman year about how they perceive things, and how, what would be the best suggestion you could give them about overcoming the obstacles that you had with ballet, with tap, with your musicality, with your over embellishment, with your lack of the ballroom? What would you tell them about pursuing those things in a more wholesome way, I guess?
I think it comes down to just asking questions. And if you're feeling insecure about, like, maybe for musicality, maybe you pull an accompanist to the side and like, hey, listen, like, I'm lacking in this. Like, how can we talk? How can you use your resources to elevate your experience rather than maybe condemning yourself before you've even investigated? You know, maybe you ask the teacher for feedback. You know, I think it's being very inquisitive about your experience and knowing that it's really not your place to judge, like, the situation. You know, you need to be cultivating communication and making sure that, I think it kind of goes back to what we said earlier, like living in the future. You know, you don't need to live in the future. You need to just embrace the richness that is this program. And some of you are probably paying a lot of money to go to this program. You know, it's not, you know, this isn't, you know, we're not talking about a light thing. This is something you want to make a career out of. So really, like, embracing every single avenue that you can, and not perceiving it in such a negative light, I guess.
Would you say that negative light is basically more self-critical?
A self-critical light.
Critical,
is it better to say that? Yeah.
Yeah, and so what you're saying is there's a feeling of failure in the present.
Yes. Okay. Feeling of failure in the present, eradicating that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else have something to add onto that or with it? Yes.
I think there's.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Colleen. Were you going to, Risa?
Colleen did.
Yeah, go for it.
First. So let's have Colleen first.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, I'd love to add on to that, because the word critical and self-critical, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, because that's ultimately the thing for me that I have to come back to, and the thing I struggled with at Point Park and continue to struggle with now. It's not so much a matter of being critical, it's more about discernment. So still, like, noticing what needs to be improved upon, and like what you can explore even more. I think there is so much more value in not getting something right away, asking questions about it, going deeper, and then you're going to end up like digging in and exploring this thing in a whole new way, in a richer way than someone maybe who's like very good at it naturally. I don't think, I'm really not a believer that the most talented person is going to get the job or succeed, you know, whatever these words mean to each of us, but it's a matter of perseverance and integrity and really embodying the full practice of what you're doing. Every style matters, every single thing. I'll just even go in like a further lifespan. Everything we do and experience is a tool to learn from and incorporate within our practice. And then going off of that, gonna bring it back to self-care, but, you know, take care of your bodies, drink lots of water, eat good food, stretch, roll out, warm up. I know it's cliche. I know it's been said so many times, but I feel like sometimes we, especially when we're younger, we're like, I'm just gonna like jump right into the thing. I can do that, but your body will not thank you later. Yeah, take care of that now. Take the time to like give yourself a gentle massage. It's worth the time.
Thank you. Franco, go ahead.
I was just going to say that as I've continued to teach now in my career, as well as being a dancer, and this is something that Jacob and Colleen have both said before, and I think where you were going with Judith, is I think sometimes we are our hardest critic, and I think sometimes it's really hard to not be judgmental on yourself as things are happening. And I think sometimes one of the hardest tools that you could do is to really let go of that judgmental feeling of yourself. And again, I wish I could have told myself that more when I was talking about tap dancing, because it was so judgmental on myself that I was a bad tap dancer, versus like, no, you don't know what it is yet, and you're learning, and it's okay to make those mistakes. Like, I feel like, especially now, like teaching people it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to fall over, just go for it. Because if you, again, hold back every step, you're never going to actually completely get the taste of what it was going to be, or what's the word I'm looking for? Jump in, like I think it's okay to let yourself fail and learn from those mistakes sometimes, and not hold yourself too accountable that you can't make those risks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would before we get to you, Risa, would you say that I know I'm a great believer in that there are no wrong movements, just using them at the wrong time. So it's that skill of being able to see what is being shown to you and have the wherewithal, even though you don't have the skill set in that area, to be able to nail certain factors that set you up for success. Reese?
I think that's what was hard for me, is just as dancers, you're expected to be good at everything, and just being okay with not being as strong in ballet as I thought I should be or as expected to be. Once I came to terms with that, it actually got better and easier, because then I was able to let go and not be so hard on myself. And I wish I had found that when I was younger. So that would be my advice, is just allow yourself to be where you're at and push from there. But yeah.
Mindset plays such a big part in it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do something else. What do you do for fun?
For fun, I work a lot, but when I'm not working, I like to go for runs and just hang out with friends and family, and just explore Houston, and I love to get massages. That is my favorite thing in the world, and I recommend it. I get a massage a week, and I think that really helps prevent injuries or just any little tweaks and things. And honestly, yeah, it sounds like a lot of money, but it's not if you get injured and then you have to pay for a surgery or anything else. So definitely cross training and doing, I've always kind of cross trained since I was a kid. So I feel like that's how I've kind of prevented injuries, or that's just my theory. But yes, I think running or doing other forms of physical activity plus massaging. I also have a hypervolt, and I do that every morning before I go into work, and I feel like that's already made a difference. So if you can do that, or rolling out.
So you have a regime of things that you pick from, but you don't ever let the massage go.
No.
Never.
I mean, during quarantine, it was kind of hard because everything was closed.
Yes.
But since I had the hypervolt, it's basically almost the same thing. So I did that longer because I had more time. And I felt like that helped me a lot to not get stiff.
Okay. Would anyone else like to say what they do?
Sure, I'll go. lately, especially the outside world, outside walks, taking a hike, jumping in the river down the street, like any time that I can get outside and just like talk to a tree. That's like a really, no, seriously, they've got a lot to say. They've got a lot of good wisdom to impart to the natural world. I'm a huge reader and just learner, researcher. I can go down any rabbit hole of any topic, and there's very little that doesn't interest me. So I'm a very tangential person that can really just like fall down a rabbit hole of new information, which I love to get just kind of lost in a new thing. Comedy too has been like my saving grace. Stand-up, improv. When I lived in New York, I went to the Comedy Cellar like once a week, and that was like the most grounding thing for me. I think to laugh and be silly is a good reset and necessary and healing thing for all of us. And then just like any physical practice, anything healing, and that could mean different things for different people, for me at different times, and it's always changing.
Yes, trees talk. Yes.
I would say cooking. I'm right now love cooking food. My biggest one is I love cooking food for people. It's been a little bit more difficult during quarantine to be cooking for people, but we've been doing a little bit more social distancing, outdoor kind of things, and it's just, again, always cooking for people have always brought me such joy, and just playing with flavors that you're not supposed to do, but why not, so yeah.
Jacob.
Sorry, I have 2 French bulldogs, so that's probably my favorite way to have fun is with them, although they can be a lot when you're, working in the city and trying to raise 2 little dogs, but I love my dogs. Biking is huge. I love to bike. Pilates, reading, and video games. I've always loved video games, and I've been playing more video games lately, so not ashamed of that.
Well, that leads me into my next question. How has your professional dancing life changed since COVID? Because I know all of your companies and places that you're working have had to adjust, and the first few months were pretty difficult. How have you re-entered training, forming? How have you shifted the medium of presentation?
Sure. Well, in the beginning, it was kind of exciting because at Giordano's, we take ballet 4 days a week and 1 day of jazz. So that's, very solid, and that's what we do. And in the beginning, I was able to utilize all these different forms. I was taking Graham class again, which I hadn't taken since Point Park. And I was just like feeling so fulfilled to reach out to these other artists who were not accessible before. So in that way, it was kind of exciting in the beginning. And then I think, and I'm sure people have had similar experiences, as the kind of journey down the rabbit hole went, we kind of lost contact from our organization that we had been affiliated with. So there was kind of this disconnect of like, okay, well, what is my company doing? What are we going to do? Because there wasn't, there were no theaters are open. And so I think we are taking class right now twice a week. It's optional to go to class if you can work in your schedule, because they still want you to be employed, and they don't want to take away money from you. So we are doing smaller classes with masks in person. We also created a Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Access Committee, which I was one of the founding members in, which is super vital to changing the infrastructure of our company. Because as I was saying earlier, I am going back to school for social work. So we're implementing harassment policies, procedures, re-looking at the contract, working with organizational change management professionals on how to implement these policies, how to create mission statements. So there's a lot of strategic planning going on with the infrastructure of Giordano. There was also a very impactful film, hold on, let me think of the name before I say it wrong. I want to say it's Jazz Dance Roots to Branches. It came out in the summer. So just re-looking at jazz dance as an art form, and we are a jazz dance company. So looking at its complicated but rich history, and how do we go forward with that without playing into the systemic inequity of dance, and trying to just fuel a more balanced company. So there's a lot of infrastructure work going on with our specific company. We are doing a little video project now, which is exciting. Just a small one, just something to keep us artistically fulfilled in some way. But a lot of it has going away from the concert dance mentality. It's been more of mentoring and teaching for me, focusing on fitness and cross training, and getting my master's, because dance will always be a part of me, but now I want to, what can I bring to these concert dance companies that is very necessary right now in this evolving time.
So actually your mindset has inspired the administrators of your company in a way?
Absolutely, 100%, yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything to share on that? Yes, Risa.
When COVID hit, it was actually refreshing for me, because obviously I don't want that to happen, but life slowed down, and life has never been so slow. And it was nice for me to be able to have time to do other things and be able to rest and not work from 9 to 9 every single day, and take care of myself, as well as spend more time with my family, or like we did virtual family games or had virtual family reunions on our screen, and that was super fun. And just being able to maintain that throughout our busy schedules, is I think we forget to do that as we get busy. And then my teaching didn't stop, though. We went virtual, so I still had that. And then we had like a month off from the company, and then we got our PPE, so then we started doing rehearsal online, and then we started getting back into the studio, and now we are back into the studio. We wear masks, and we socially distance, we don't touch, and we're actually working on a socially distant show, and that will be in November. It will be at our studio, but at least we're still getting to perform and have a show. So I'm excited to still be able to have some normalcy. And
so it was like a forced vacation.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Revelation that, oh God, I have a family. And you don't really understand that until suddenly you are forced to vacation.
Yeah, it's just not having enough time to fit everything in, and it was a nice break to get to do that.
But you're anxious to get back, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, now we're back to normal schedule. Everything's normal, but now I've had my balance, and I figure out how to see everyone and still maintain everything.
All right.
But yeah.
Okay, so it helped you to reevaluate. Yeah, very nice.
What really matters, and making sure you keep that.
And they both really matter.
Yes.
It's just that you were neglecting one in this kind of like pinch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colleen, did you have something? You almost looked like you were going to say something.
Yeah, thank you. A few things. Very similar experiences to Risa and Jacob. In terms, maybe I'll try to make this a timeline. Like right at the beginning of the pandemic, I feel like the entire industry was like, how do we still practice at home? And I started teaching Instagram classes. Franco did as well. Some of our other colleagues. It just blew up. Instagram, Zoom. We began teaching that way within my little tiny attic space upstairs. And that ended up being difficult in a way, because I was like, God, people in the room, I really miss that. But there was something so incredible about the fact that the whole industry was like, all right, we can all connect again right now. And even classes that I loved to take in New York, I could take again from home, or LA or Europe. All of a sudden we have all of these resources in front of us to be able to pull from, which was amazing and still is. I've personally had a little bit of burnout with some virtual class time, so there's had to be a moment of a break. Yeah. How it goes. Learning. And then I've really dove headfirst after everything that's happened into this dancers advocacy organization, Dance Artists National Collective, DANC for short. I believe it's necessary dance work. We're really focused on assessing the infrastructure of the dance industry and problems that have been around for a long time. And I felt incredibly connected and affirmed by the fact that I brought my own personal concerns and, you know, things that I'd kind of just been like, oh, well, that's kind of uncomfortable, but I'll just deal with it. And sharing that with the group and having other dancers go, wow, that's not okay. That was incredibly affirming. And from there, sharing our experiences has only enabled us to like keep going, but also realizing there's a lot of work to do. Like the deeper we get in, the more we realize that it's like, ooh, this is not a quick, immediate fix. There's a lot to change. So that's been like a huge thing for me. And then just to try to get the rest of this going pretty fast, I'm just interested in looking into innovative ways to work. I'm working on a dance film right now with Post Ballet. I'm trying to explore my own film projects, both with one of Franco's friends, Kenzie, who used to work on Sleep No More, and I have a friend in film in LA. So that's very much an experimental stage right now, because that's a very new world for me. But I believe, especially at this moment where we can't always be in person, that's going to be there's going to be a massive shift in that increasing in the dance world. So I'm trying to learn a little bit more about that. And then just the body work, my yoga teacher training ended up being, you know, the deeper I go into that, the more it's like, the physical practice isn't like the whole thing. There are 8 limbs to the yoga practice. In asana, the physical part is only one of the 8. Which is like, in my original approach to yoga when I was injured my freshman year was like, I'm going to be strong and get fit. And now it's like, oh, okay, this is a centering, grounding, balancing force in order for me to like self-assess and balance those energies. And that has been probably the most stabilizing thing that keeps me from going crazy. So I feel like I need that to keep pushing forward to do the other work.
Yeah. So you find different balances. It's all very fluid. You just find different balances. And I think that the more you allow yourself to, the more you train yourself to actually recognize things rather than just see what's around you, the more you understand that they can be drawn in and important. For example, you might look around your room and see it in a whole different light because you read a particular story. You know, it's just very interesting how it can change your mindset to your own craft in a way. It can be something that someone says to you, you know, or you hear something in a particular class while you're trolling through the United States and the entire world for different kinds of classes, you know, and then you hear something that suddenly it's at home, really. Well, click, my red heels. You know, there's no place like home.
Yes.
And where is
all
home?
In here. Yeah.
Who has not responded to this loaded question?
I guess that would be me.
Hey.
Like you guys, I think, are saying, from the beginning, I like Colleen, I think we have very similar ways of working where we go, 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 and we always constantly want to people please. And I found myself, especially at the beginning, like constantly going and teaching. I was teaching like 5 days a week, different outlets, either Zoom, Instagram, outside for myself, all these like, and then I just kept going until eventually, kind of when the Black Lives Matter movement happened, I took a pause, and I took a big pause because at that moment was like, who am I to intervene right now in this thing that's much bigger than me? But even within that, like that time frame, which I think is like Risa was saying, that we took a big pause, and I think by taking that pause, there's a lot of self-reflecting that we all got to do a little bit more than we had been able to, especially like for me personally, again, constantly moving forward or constantly moving, you can't take that time to actually be like, wait, what have I been doing? Is this thing okay that I'm still doing? How do I move forward, or how do I just sit, you know? And I think this was the first opportunity for me, especially to have that moment of sitting and reflecting and actually taking the time to ponder a little bit more. And I think that's kind of where and why I think this, you know, this movement's moving as fast as it is, because I think we all had a lot more time to stop and pause because we were forced to at first. And I think that reflection really helped push this movement forward. And then also just cracked open a bunch of other doors of like, where else do we have system problems right now? And I think that then also cracked into the dance world, and what else can we fix now in this dance world? Because it hasn't been talked about or hasn't been rethought about, because we've constantly been pushing so much that it was the first time that like, whoa, there might need to be some changes now too. And if this is happening, why don't we keep moving forward with the next thing as well? And so I think during this time, it's been really interesting for me to reflect on previous companies, but also like knowing to being a teacher and wanting to be a leader. I think that was a big important part for me, to really take a time to pause and listen and try to understand, so that I can also help influence the next generation, where I don't still know exactly what that is yet, but I'm still trying to ponder what that could be. And knowing that, you know, it's probably Colleen's generation that's probably going to get it correct, but I'm probably going to mess up a few times, because I feel like I'm, again, kind of in this generation, as well as knowing that there's things that need to be happening. And I feel like I'm at the age right now where it's like, it's time for me to step forward and take some leadership to move that process. So this pandemic has been really, I don't think I would have been pushing so much forward to try to do my own thing if it wasn't for COVID right now. So yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple of things that remind me of learning process, and, you know, the levels, the layers of learning that you do. You know, you learn something at a certain level, and then you move forward and you see something, and the whole thing shatters, and it's kind of like a phoenix rising from where you're at with that information, which now seems old and crusty. You have to move forward with it, and then something else happens, and that shatters, you know, and then you have to move up with that. You know, it just reminds me of like when you figure something out technically in class, you know, for example, with an arabesque or with the shape of an arm, or, you know, how you hold your head, and you realize that you have been systemically doing this for years and you just figured it out. So when you look at how the world runs, whoa, it's a little more than an arabesque or a head. So you have your work cut out for you. But I do agree that it always starts with the next generation, and, you know, you're not all there ready to move that forward. But yes, we're kind of, you know, moving away from that monolithic structure of a company, and people have very different opinions about the way dance movement performance should be presented and played with. Yeah. So, any thoughts on future projects aside from Jacob, who has his hands full, but he may have another project up his sleeve, huh? Any other projects?
Again, since trying to keep pushing and keep going through, I have a few ideas and projects in mind that are happening that will be a little bit more concrete by November 1st. But very exciting things to move forward to that will hopefully help continue to push this new idea forward within dance. That's all I'm going to say now.
Okay, so secretive. Oh my goodness. Stay tuned. Anybody else have any thoughts? Even if you're not ready to go into them at this point in time, it could be 5 or 10 years down the road, but what do you think's pulling you at this point in time within your careers?
For me, I think I can speak a little bit more to a value point again, or like an intention than a specific thing for myself. I am very much at a stage where I did think I was going to be at Northwest Dance Project for a while and then move on from there. I planned on being here 5 years or so and then maybe going to Europe, but now that's very much up in the air for me in terms of what that literally means. But at the end of the day, what I think we all have talked about and going back to is how can we do something that isn't just like cool dancing, but is also healing, both in presentation and in structure and in the connectivity, the community aspect of it. And yeah, that can mean so many things. And I'm still figuring that out, but that's the most important thing to me right now.
Other thoughts on that? Risa?
I don't really have any projects or anything coming up.
You feel you're in a very good place right now.
Yes, and because we do have company that I teach a lot, so that's really where my time goes. And it's not the same here in Houston like it is in New York, where there's a bunch of people creating all of the time, stuff like that. But a part of me does kind of want to go to LA and try the commercial route, but not for dancing necessarily, more like TV and film. But that's just a thought. I don't know if that's really going to happen because I feel like I would miss concert dance too much because that's really where my passion lies. But maybe one day, but not really. Just a thought. Yeah.
Jacob, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just add to kind of what Colleen said about healing. Like, my biggest thing is more accessible dance and dance that recovers from trauma. Like, how can we use movement therapy to recover from, maybe it's mental health, it could be addiction, it could be anything, something that is giving back. I would love to see like a foundation where any dancer or artist could be given tools to access mental counseling, mental health counseling or therapy, like something that is, giving these artists, some form of positivity. So when these crises happen again, because they will, that we're not so like in such a standstill. There's actually resources where these artists can be like, oh, I'm going to go to so-and-so because my depression is at just such a low right now. So that, being very specific about giving back to the community in that way. So that would be, a dream is,
the movement.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a question that's completely in the other direction. The audition that you participated in that got you into the company work that you have or most recently had, was there a moment where you knew you nailed it, or did you really think you weren't going to get the job? Or, how did you feel? Was there a moment, and what made you feel that was that moment, if that is the case?
I love this question. I will answer this question.
Okay, all right.
So I love the Giordano audition. If you ever get a chance to do the Giordano audition, no matter what happens, you will enjoy it so much because the repertoire is extremely versatile. And I just knew that after I had done it, it was less about like, I think I nailed it, and more about I could do that every day. I was like, I want to dance like that every day, and I want that to be a part of me. And it did feel like a spiritual experience because I knew that was going to be what I was cultivating day in and day out for years to come, and it was. And yeah, so I think there was a moment of like, yes, I see myself here, and I will do anything I can to get there and be a part of that beautiful artistry. So for me, yeah, there was an aha moment of like, this is it. This is why I trained so hard, is to be able to do this every day.
Explain what you mean about train hard.
Just the sacrifice of, you know, going to school and like, there's always that like daunting question of, can I actually make this a career? And in that moment, I was like, you know what? I think I can. I really think I can do it. So.
All right. Anyone else have anything to say about that particular moment in the audition process? I mean, maybe you thought you ruined it. You just blew it. That would be interesting too.
All I know is when auditions, I loved auditions. I think that was kind of why I was so happy to be at Point Park too, because there's always constant auditions. I don't know what it is about, again, this like weird mentality of people pleasing and being in front of a room to like do the thing. That just got me so excited, which I don't know why. But now looking back more and being part of like on the other side of things and watching auditions, there's teaching the auditions. I always try to encourage the people that are taking the auditions now to almost take it more as a workshop or a master class versus trying to always constantly do your best or prove. Again, it comes down to that judgmental thing or ego thing where it's like, sometimes you got to just learn from what you're doing versus trying to execute it in such a perfectionist way. And I think sometimes when we get in that mindset too of letting the ego get involved, I think we lose or we lack the idea of soaking up the information sometimes. Because it becomes so self-absorbed or so self-focused that like, I need to get this job. I need to be better than this person. So I guess I'm just basically saying, don't be like me when I was a younger kid. Learn from this situation, because I think there's so much value to learn from these auditions. And I wish, I would hope that more auditions would take that space. I know that like, at least for Northwest Dance Project, when we would go out and audition, a majority, we would try to do at least the ballet class and then repertoire so that we could at least see people who do both versus like trying to cut just immediately at ballet, because we also know that contemporary dancers are not necessarily all rotated and all perfectly technique, and to see those movers and give them a chance. And I hope that's that process of auditions, if there are even auditions anymore, that process goes more forward of it being more of like a workshop or more of a master class or more of something that you can attain and learn from. Even with launch, which is the audition process for Northwest Dance Project, my first encouragement for all those dancers is to take this as if it was a workshop or a master class. Don't let the like, I need this job go, because then you're just going to leave feeling empty by the end of it. Because if you didn't get the job, then what? You don't have the job. But if you went for a learning experience, you could at least leave those 2 weeks with understanding all the things that you just soaked up, you know?
So slow down.
Yeah.
Make it more personal rather than, well, it has to be presented, but when I say presentational, I mean outside yourself. You can't go outside yourself. You have to go through yourself. Make the work speak through you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think in the end, the choreographer wants to see who you are, because doing the steps, any of 25, 30 people in the room can do the steps. But if there's an inkling of something that can be played with creatively, that's, I think, an essential draw. Yeah.
Exactly. I think you said it right there, Judith. they want to see you. And I think that's a very important part to remember, even when you're doing these auditions, that they're still trying to find who you are too.
Ladies.
Oh, you can go.
Are you sure? I'll make it quick.
Okay.
I just wanted to bounce off of that because I auditioned like for Franco. He
Yeah.
was at the front of the room. I'm like, okay, I was there. I did that exact thing in front of him. And yeah. So I would say for myself, that exact thing kind of happened. I definitely, I had this like tension going into it, and you got to try to like let it go. And I know Franco and I have talked about this moment before, and I remember this moment so viscerally, not for the shape that I was making, but like how present it felt. I was actually partnering, and it was, I can't even remember if it was improv or we had made something together, but it was with AJ Liebert, who is also another Point Park alum. Yeah, and I think I loved partnering with him because he's such a like balanced, like calm energy, and I'm like shouting him out for this because I appreciated him for that like connection we had so much in that moment, because I truly couldn't tell you what we did, but it felt so honest, and what happened was just born of that moment. And it was like, that felt real. I don't care what happens, but that felt real. And Franco tells me after I got the job that they were like, that was the moment. And there's so much truth to that. Like that connection, like they'll see you, you'll feel you, and it just works like that.
Yeah, and you're telling a story even though no one knows the words. You're speaking it through your muscles.
Yeah.
Risa.
Yeah, not that I ever had the aha moment or anything, but it's not just a one audition for the Met. We had an intensive or workshop for the whole week. So getting to see all the different styles and versatility, kind of what Jacob was saying, like that's what drives me, is having versatility and variety. And so knowing that this is what I would be doing for my career is kind of what they were showing us. Like you train in this, this, and this, and our rep is so broad that you would get all of these styles and things. And that's really what I wanted to do. And yeah.
So actually your audition was held over a week.
A week, correct.
Wow, they really get to see what your abilities are and how far you can go. That's very nice.
Yeah, it helps you relax, and it also allows you to see, is this what you want to do? And
yes.
Versa for both of us, like and dancing with the company members, being around them, like do you gel well, and just dancing next to them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What are the differences between the schedule you had at Point Park and the schedule you have now?
Well, for me,
Well, we know 9 to 9. That's about the same.
it's really the same. It's just, I take one training class in the morning, then we rehearse, and then I drive to go teach, which is your choice how far you want to drive, what studios you want to go to. Mine are farther, but because those kids are so worth it, I go out there. And yeah, it's pretty much the same time frame, but I'm not dancing as much like when I teach. I used to when I was younger, and then like be full out in every class when I would teach, and that kind of harmed my body. And I'd be like, oh, I have this tweak, and I usually don't have this tweak. So I kind of laid back, but now the kids know my style and know me, so I don't have to do everything all of the time. And so that has been a journey. But yeah, not much too different.
Okay. Time spent well.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of the same as Risa, like 9:30 to 4, we rehearse, and then you either go and teach, or you go and bartend, or you teach your fitness class. So there's no like rehearsals in the evenings per se. You do your class for the morning and then you do rehearsal. And then if you have a show or a tour, you go and do that. But it was, I mean, pretty similar to Point Park. You know, Point Park is a rigorous program and it's pretty reflective of the real world in that sense.
Anything else to add on, or any kind of detail that you think was slightly different but prepared you in a way? Well, for example, Risa said that she does a lot of teaching and that there's travel time there. So the kind of activities you're doing shift. But would you say that the rigor of the program prepared you to handle those things? Because it's very different dancing for 4.5 hours as opposed to dancing for an hour and a half, traveling for an hour, and then teaching for an hour and a half. Those are very different things.
Yeah, I would say that it did. Yeah.
Okay. So don't skip class. Is that what you're saying?
No, do not skip.
Use your cuts, but don't skip class. Any final words that you would like to tell our audience? Things that you found most beneficial to get you through when things were low energy, low physically, how you got through an injury. I know Colleen hit on that. But when things were their most frustrating, and how to handle that and really not take your eye off the prize, but kind of use what's happening to you, you know, as a learning experience in a way. Should an injury happen, should you suddenly have a distraction or something like that? How would you recommend people stay with what they want rather than get tired?
I'd say for the most part, just continue to stay curious, even if you're in injury mode or if you are, you know, feeling like you've done something over and over and over again. How do you re-spark that interest? How do you find that curiosity again? I know that Doug used to tell us too, is like, once you feel like you've hit your max, or you have no more curiosity or there's nothing about it anymore, then you should just quit. And I really do believe like keeping that curiosity, keeping that youthful mind, because there are times when you're exhausted and you're tired and you've worked all day, 5 days a week from like, you're tired, and then you're also trying to be a normal human being too at the same time, which is really another step to being exhausted. So to try to find those, even if they're little moments of trying to stay curious with your practice in the morning or with the steps that you're continuing to still do, or yeah.
For me, it's getting to see my kids at night. If I'm kind of down and I'm not sure if I want to dance or something, just the way that they move and their inspiration makes me want to keep going and I want to perform for them, and I want them to see, because they perform for me every night when they take my class and stuff. So that's definitely what keeps me going and pushes me if I'm unsure of what I want. But yeah.
Yeah, these are very interesting points. Find another outlet for you. It's Risa, it's more, it's within the same field, but it's seeing your students give back to you what you shared with them in a way. Yeah. And with the idea of curiosity, stay open. Stay open, don't close any doors, even if it's chilly. Yes. Any more comments about words of wisdom for our students here?
Yeah, I agree with what Franca and Risa just said. Knowing that every single thing you do, I'm talking like whole life wise, is a learning opportunity in regards to curiosity. Like the bad things, the good things, everything that happens to you is an opportunity for you to cultivate a tool and come closer to yourself as like a whole person and an artist. And then also, and I think I'm just speaking from my particular point right now in my dance career and where I'm coming from and where I'm going. Sometimes we are seen, and thus we see ourselves as just this dancing body, as just like a body that can move. And there are points where we're told that we're disposable or replaceable. And, you know, kind of true, I guess, but that's dehumanizing. And if you come to that situation where you're not being valued as a whole person, you need to realize that you're so much more than that, and you deserve so much more. And even if it is tough and you're leaving a job that was your dream job, honestly, I feel like I'm grieving and mourning my dream job, but I'm also very grateful to learn that, okay, I deserve more than that. And I hope everyone can learn that too.
Well, this can also be translated into how you take even correction in a class. You know, not to take away from a personal situation, but how you take correction in a class. If you take it and enjoy it, because it's not really correction, it's more like, well, try this. It's a recommendation.
Yeah. Yes.
Then that probably builds more self-esteem, even if there's frustrating moments. Because most of the time when we teachers yell, it's because we're frustrated. And that's shame on us, you know, for doing that. I speak for myself. I don't speak for anyone else. But those are all learning experiences. How you take correction, how you absorb correction, sets you up for how you're going to take the pots and pans as opposed to the bells and whistles, you know, that kind of a thing. Yeah, it does. So starting from there, you know, because I was in a very similar situation to you, and then I left a situation I loved because I didn't care for the way people were being treated. Mm-hmm. Any last words, Jacob? Recommendations for our shiny-faced students here, who I love already.
I would just stay invested. Stay invested in your classes. Stay invested in each other. Stay invested in yourself. Do not let the future dictate your present. You know, like, just be there. You're in the studio. You're creating. You have this wealth of faculty just to pull from, and just know that you're right where you're supposed to be, and don't be a victim to your experience. You know, be a leader, and also utilize the beauty of Pittsburgh. Like, I didn't realize how much I loved Pittsburgh until I left, and now I go back like 2 to 3 times a year. And I teach there, and if you can make your way out to Falling Water is like my favorite place in the world. It's a beautiful Frank Lloyd Wright house. And my senior year, I went there like 5 times just to like simmer down, and like in between, you know, the chaoticness of rehearsal, like get back to yourself and use the city to fuel that when you can, if you can.
Yeah. That's almost like a monastery moment.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, dancers out there, use us. Use us up. Use your faculty. Make connections. You know, go online. Look to see where all of these fine dancers work. Look at the websites of where they work, and you know, start looking at the world of dance if you haven't already. I just think this was sometimes a serious conversation, but it's serious times, but we're good about it. Yeah, it's all good. It's all absolutely wonderful. And thank you so much for being here. This was so wonderful to be able to speak with you like this, the four of you. I never had this kind of, ability to do this, because I don't even know where the button is to push on these things. I need an assistant. But thank you so much for being here. It's been wonderful to speak with you and for you to share your sobering and very enlightening thoughts with our young dancers. I'm sure they're very appreciative.
Thank you so much, Judith.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Judith.
Be well, stay safe, and move forward.
Thank you, Judith.
Yes.
It was so nice seeing all of you.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Oh, it's nice to see
Everyone looks so healthy and glowing.
you. Oh, it's the lighting, honey. All right, I don't want to overspend our time. I'll see you guys soon on the stage or online or something. Keep in touch, okay?
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.